Gavin Newsom. I want to get to Gavin Newsom, Roger. He seems to be their guy. I know he said, Roger, he's not running. When we were here and we spoke last time, you brought up, I think he was on the White House lawn with his jacket and he was waving. Like, I mean, that's obviously setting up. He's been hanging out with Xi Jinping. First, he went there, Roger. He went over there. Yes. He was kissing their butt about climate change, which China has the worst carbon footprint out of all the countries combined. He played basketball with a kid. He spanked him, which was very weird.
Well, he knocked him down.
He knocked him down. and then Roger, I'm going to show two videos. He goes to San Francisco. I know you've seen this, Raj. He goes to San Francisco and they clean up the streets. They kick all the homeless out. They make it look pristine. It doesn't even look recognizable. And then when asked about it, this is what Gavin Newsom had to say about why they cleaned up the city.
I know folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
Because it's true.
But it's also true, for months and months and months prior to APEC, we've been having different conversations.
And then Roger, ready for this? Are you ready? Yeah, 'cause I want to hear your guys' reaction. Roger, when Xi Jinping shows up, look at the streets of San Francisco, guys. Not one American flag. It looks like they're in China, communist China, and they're playing their anthem. Show that clip. Where are we?
Wow.
Look at this. Look at this, Dave. By the way, where is the American flag in this whole thing, Roger?
No, it's really, really bizarre. Look,
go ahead.
Gavin Newsom is advertising his availability, is what he's doing. Would he like to run? He would love to run. Would he settle for vice president with Michelle Obama? He most certainly would. The Obamas would make him raise a ton of money, which he can do from his own sources, plus the special interests of California. But he can't be seen publicly undermining Joe Biden, but by appearing vigorous, by comparison, he's advertising his availability. I think he's hoping that the party leaders determine that Joe can't make it, that there has to be a replacement, that Kamala can't make it. They promised her a seat on the Supreme Court because she was the former Attorney General of California. If they want a Senate majority, that's not outside the realm of possibility. It would upset a lot of my friends. But they would have to get her to go quietly. But I think Gavin Newsom is one of the options they have to be looking at.
You've been in this game for a long time. When did it become that being a patriot is a bad thing? Because I look at that guy right there. First of all, that looks like a man taking his grandfather to the home and going, no, listen, they do day trips where you go to the bowling alley.
And by the way, that might not even be the same Biden, but we'll talk about that after. Go ahead.
People look at Gavin Newsom and go, that guy's a patriot. He loves his country. They look at Trump and they go, that guy sold the country out. But then you look at what Newsom does, and any person that is a rational person can look at that footage from San Francisco and seeing them rolling out the red carpet for Xi and then putting the Chinese flag everywhere, and they go, that guy's more of a patriot than Trump. When did being a patriot in the United States of America shift to becoming a bad thing?
Do you think Newsom asked the Chinese leader about why he shipped us a deadly virus that was responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of Americans and destroying our economy? I mean, I can't imagine there was anything confrontational in that meeting. So what Gavin Newsom is trying to do is to reassure the Chinese, don't worry, I'll be as malleable as Joe.
What I love, though, it's almost a Kamala-esque work of genius. It's true because it's true, but it's also true because it's false. I mean, that you watch that video and it looks like he's basically saying America is for sale. I remember I was in the Gaspésie, it's in a place in Quebec, La Malbaie, and there was a Chinese flag flying in between the European Union flags, and I was like, look at this. I'm in the middle of Quebec, French Canada. And I go into this place and say, why is the Chinese flag up there? Like, I'm not, no xenophobia or anything. I'm just wondering why it's flying here. And they say, oh, they're a member of the G5. And it's like, but they're not. And they had that meeting out there. It really seems like the West is selling out in all ways, literal and spiritual, to China's influence. Do you agree? And if you agree, how recent is that of a phenomenon?
I think the Chinese have been burrowing into every institution in the United States, academia, Wall Street, the corporate world. They've infiltrated our country. They won't need to mount a military attack on the country. It will fall on its own. I think that they are that embedded in our system. And in all honesty, showing the Biden administration basically supporting both sides in the Middle East, subsidizing both Israel and Iran, and therefore Hamas, shipping millions of dollars to Ukraine and losing, in my opinion.
Big time.
The Chinese look at this and they see weakness, so therefore, sooner or later, they move on Taiwan, and then we have a chip problem. We have a computer chip problem. That, in turn, I think, has the potential to cause a stock market crash and perhaps even a depression in this country.
And Roger, with the and staying on China, I think besides them, the spy balloons that were going over the country, just all the way across, not shooting them down.
Well, we shot it down, but after.
Once they started going to the water, back to China, and then their intellectual property theft, Roger, land. They have impunity. They can do whatever.
Manipulation of the currency, buying up infrastructure. It's not just farmland. They're buying up bridges, tunnels, toll plazas, airports, ports. Very, very valuable ranch and farmland. The Agriculture Department says they only have 360,000 acres in the United States. That's absurd. They have over 360,000 acres in Oklahoma alone.
I heard that, Roger.
And again, Governor DeSantis announces that he's going to bar the Chinese from buying real estate in Florida, but in the end, he bars them from buying real estate only if it's contiguous to a military installation or a national security installation, which means they can still own valuable assets, farmland, ranch land, and other public utilities here in the United States. Sarah Huckabee Sanders has absolutely barred them from owning anything. By the way, in Canada, the Chinese cannot go buy property.
You know that?
That would be a new policy if it's.
I don't believe foreign nationals can own real estate in Canada.
Hey, quick thing about China. So I agree that we're doing everything possible to let them embed themselves into America, unfortunately, but they have a ton of problems of their own as far as deflation setting in. They've overbuilt their real estate, their demographics problems. So what do you think happens first between them, China caving in on itself, or America caving in on itself because of what China's doing? Because, those two things are sort of happening at the same time.
I don't claim to be any kind of Sino expert. But I do think that they have disproportionate influence in this administration. I think that's going to come out more and more in the House oversight hearings. And the next election is as crucial to them as it is crucial to us. Trump had cut off their Iranian oil supply. Trump was putting these crushing tariffs on them. They only respect strength. Their greatest single fear is that Donald Trump will be returned to the White House.
Also, it might be morally remiss to not bring back the fentanyl crisis to China's involvement. I mean, what's coming over the border in South America is originating in China, and some people believe it's not a drug overdose crisis, but actual chemical warfare or poisoning, statistically, of the fighting age young men, the young generation.
Yes,
that's not wrong.
Well, you have, I think it was just yesterday, the announcement of a joint anti-fentanyl effort by China and the United States, Xi Jinping and Joe Biden. If you believe that, then you believe that Iran was not going to use the $6 billion for military purposes. Please, give me a break.